As every true Naruto fan does, I rewatched the Lee vs Gaara fight and I remember hearing Lee mention how Neji was his rival several times, so here's a video on why this fight is not under any circumstances very close. So that we don't get confused, I'm only referring to part 1 Lee and part 1 Neji post the Chunin preliminaries. But before we start the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, share it with a friend, it's free. So we didn't actually get to see a full-on battle between Rock Lee and Neji, and the reason why I say full-on is because during the Gaara vs Lee fight, there was an anime-only flashback fight, which for this video we will be treating as canon, used to emphasize the rivalry between Neji and Lee, showing that Rock Lee was inferior to Neji. On top of that, Lee mentioned several times throughout the series that he wanted to surpass Neji, but look at how shocked Neji is when he sees Lee unlocking those gates. He's practically shitting himself. You even hear his internal monologue saying, "Lee? Is that Lee? When did he?" Now to me, that sounds like, what the fuck, I used to beat this chump to a pulp, but he could do this the whole time? I'm cooked. Lee was moving so fast that Kakashi had to move his headband so he could follow Lee's movement with the Sharingan. Next I want to move on to the Naruto and Neji fight, which looks terrible for Neji because if you remember, before the preliminaries even began, Lee confronts Naruto and Sasuke. He fights Naruto first and takes him out in literally 2 seconds, barely pays him any mind. I mean, look at this, sends him flying with the Leaf Whirlwind, then goes on to fight Sasuke, who gets completely speed blitzed, and that's with the Sharingan. I appreciate that it was only with the 2 Tomoe version, but that still offers a level of precognition and prediction that every other ninja in the world except a new Uchiha doesn't have, including Neji. To top it all off, we had no idea that Lee was wearing weights the entire time until his fight, which was hinted at twice before the match, once by Kankuro and the other by Temari, who says his kick wasn't all that. But what's funny is in the Neji vs Naruto fight, this is the same Naruto that we mentioned that got completely speed blitzed by a weighted Lee in 2 seconds, keeping up with Neji in speed relatively okay. I've seen people say Lee wouldn't be able to touch Neji using the gates because of his rotation, but that's just not true. Kankuro made the statement that no one has been able to touch Gaara due to his sand armor when Lee managed to bypass the sand shield after he took off his weights. And let's not forget, Gaara's had multiple assassination attempts on his life since when he was a child, so I think it's fair to say that Lee being able to pierce the sand armor multiple times would be a cakewalk. Not to mention the fact that Naruto managed to bypass Neji's rotation with his base form No-Tail's chakra cloak. So if Naruto's arguably weakest base form was able to bypass rotation with a kunai, mind you, if you still think that Lee isn't getting through this, you're taking the mick. And if this Naruto was able to one-shot Neji, there's no way Neji's surviving a full-on barrage of taijutsu. I was thinking about if Neji would be able to do anything about the arrow that pierced Neji against Kitamaro, and this thing just decimates the area. If you remember, it just clears the area. I think Neji's a pretty smart guy, so I'm sure in his head he would have thought to himself, if this thing hits me, I'm toast. Plus the argument could be made that Neji could have dodged the arrow and then taken Kitamaro out with the long-range gentle fist. So it begs the question, why didn't he? In my opinion, either he couldn't dodge it because it was too fast, he considered using rotation but it wouldn't have worked, or he felt the need to get hit by the arrow because if he didn't, there's a chance Kitamaro would have noticed and ran the risk of not landing his attack. In my opinion, I think he couldn't dodge it and he was going to get hit no matter what happened for 2 reasons. One, if you remember in the Chunin finals, when Shikamaru fought Temari, after he had exhausted all options, he forfeited the match, and the Hokage commented on this, saying that Shikamaru's mature judgment to retreat made him an ideal candidate for a promotion. So don't forget, if the whole objective, if the logic behind the objective of the Genin was to be better ninja, i.e. ranking up to Chunin, and they have to think in this way, why would Neji choose to get hit just to take his opponents out? You could say, well, if Neji didn't take Kitamaro out, no one else would have been able to. Really? If we're taking into account that the objective of the mission is to either succeed or retreat with minimal losses, then the most likely reason is that Neji had no choice but to get hit because he felt like he couldn't dodge. The second reason is Kidomaru is an incredibly long-ranged fighter. I love the fight between these two, and if you watch the fight, he slowly picks apart Neji's entire arsenal, like he does with the whole summoning jutsu spider exact thing, where he makes the spider surround his rotation. He figures out that the Byakugan has an extremely narrow blind spot, which initiated the strategy of using the guided arrow in the first place, but he had to do it a few times and kept augmenting and tweaking the arrow because Neji kept dodging every arrow. So now, imagine instead of it being an arrow, imagine if that arrow was actually a person that could pivot his position and turn as fast as the arrow moved with the same destruction, or more, and didn't need the time to reassess. I honestly could make an argument for Lee being immune to the 8 trigrams since he doesn't use chakra anyway, and the condition for opening the gates is that you have to force them, with the first forcing itself open after the first gate, which is the primary lotus. But I'm not going to get into that, so I want to thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and please like the video if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, peace.